2, 1. Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to another exciting episode of Delusions of Grandeur. And let me unmask as we... you got my pun there.
Nice one.
As we begin the 1997 discussion of the Shining miniseries, which is a long 3-episode endeavor that was directed by Mick Garris, and it was produced by Stephen King himself. Let's see what IMDb says about the miniseries. Shall we? And then we will get into our first impressions afterwards.
Sounds good.
Okay, so a recovering alcoholic must wrestle with demons within and without when he and his family move into a haunted hotel as caretakers. So, the film stars Rebecca De Mornay as Winifred Torrance, otherwise known as Wendy. Stephen Weber as John Torrance. Will Horneff as Tony. Cortland Mead as Daniel Anthony Torrance. Cynthia Garris as the 217 woman. Mickey Giacomazzi as the second waiter. Melvin Van Peebles as Richard Halloran. And John Durbin as Horace Derwent. So, what were your first impressions of this particular miniseries? And let me just go by saying that here I'll show everyone what the thing looks like. This is a
very nice
3-episode thing. It has one episode on one side, one episode on another side, and then it has an entire disc for the third episode. So,
cool. Does it have any interesting extras?
I noticed that it actually had like some commentary. In fact, it says there's a feature-length commentary by Stephen King. Cast members Stephen Weber and Cynthia Garris, and director Mick Garris, as well as some select crew. And I guess it has 11 additional scenes.
Whoa!
So that may not have been played on the air, but it is on the DVD. They can add that shit afterwards.
Were those scenes included in the version we watched?
Yes.
Oh.
Okay. What was your first impression of this miniseries? Was this a first time watch for you?
Well, the first time I saw it a few days ago on my own, and now I watched it again with you. And it was definitely very interesting, very exciting. I must say I prefer this version over the movie. No offense to any Stanley Kubrick fans, but yeah, to me this was a much better version of the story than the movie. Although maybe I would like to say I originally missed Jack Nicholson a bit, in spite of this show having all different actors than those from the movie, well, of course. But I could somehow still imagine this Danny and the movie Danny being the same character, and even Wendy, who looked radically different, but I could still imagine the Wendy from the movie and this one being the same person, but Jack felt like a different person altogether. Although I must say later on, this actor really proved himself worthy of the role. He did an amazing job. And all in all, like I said, I think this version is better than the movie. Maybe in a way, the first episode takes a little long for things to get really intense. Like maybe the beginning drags on a bit too long, but at the same time, I understand perfectly why Stephen King would. Make it that way. Like, I mean, he was the one who wrote the original story, and I know that if I was in charge of my own writing being made into a movie or a mini series, I also couldn't bring myself to leave anything out. So, yeah.
And as far as me goes, this is at least my third or fourth time viewing this, but
Wow.
but to actually sit down and watch it with another person as extensively as we did, that is my first time doing that. So actually sitting and paying attention to it is a little bit different, and I am used to the mini series type of format. What a mini series is like it can be like 2 episodes, it can be 3 episodes, it could be 4 episodes, it could be 6, or it could just be just like a shortened like 10 episode thing. And I've many of the Stephen King adaptations were often that way, like Stephen King's It, the original one with Tim Curry. That was a that at least was a 2-night event. And you have to imagine these things with commercials too, and no
All
way
right.
of fast forwarding them.
Oh, that sucks.
And guess what? My first time was actually watching this on the air. I was one of those millions of viewers actually watching it without any recording way to do so. I actually made sure that I was there each night to watch each episode. Partially because I am a very big avid Stephen King fan, and maybe that's partially why I have a somewhat love-hate relationship with the original Shining. In fact, you'll know my viewpoint points on it if you check out our episode that we did last week of the Shining, and I'm kind of in the middle. See, I feel like if you took Rebecca De Mornay and stuck her with Jack Nicholson and redid the Shining that way, with possibly the Cortland Mead. I liked Cortland Mead more than I liked the original kid in The Shining, because I thought his red rum. That was so fucking annoying. I mean, and the fact that Tony wasn't even part of the whole thing all along. I mean, That's one of the things that was in the book that wasn't in the film, but it's in the miniseries. So, and I like the fact of the maze from the original one. But again, in the book, there were creatures that were made from bushes that were attacking the Torrance family, you know, in the book, but they were never in the movie, you know.
Yeah.
Stanley Kubrick made that film so much his and not Stephen King's that he left out many things that were in the book and changed a lot of things that were from the book, enough to piss off any Stephen King fan. and
Well,
yet the movie itself, it evoked a lot of emotion from a lot of people.
yeah, well, I must say, one thing I have to give credit to the movie for is that some of these side scares are a bit more gruesome in the movie than in the miniseries. Like, I remember the first time I watched The Shining, and there was this scene when Danny or Tony or whatever wrote red drum on the door, and Wendy woke up and saw the word murder in the mirror. I remember it really took me aback. Like, it was kind of a shocking moment, and here it didn't feel so unexpected and shocking. Then the movie also had this all work and no play makes Jack a dull boy, and it had the Grady Twins, which I kind of missed in the series. Like, after seeing the movie, it's kind of not the same if they are not included in the whole setting of the hotel and everything.
That's
But yeah,
because they were never in the original novel to begin with, and they were an added. Well, they were in the novel. They were in the novel. Don't get me wrong, but they weren't in as much as the movie portrays them to be.
Yeah, I think from what I remember, you mentioning they didn't appear in the book, but they were mentioned. It was said that they were killed, but no one
They
saw them
were
as
they were
ghosts.
found frozen outside in the wilderness nearby. That's basically
Oh,
what they. But in the movie, they were found stacked neatly as if someone had chopped them up like firewood.
oh, yeah. Well, in the
And
movie, it
and
was
yet
pretty
and yet in the
gruesome.
movie we saw bits and pieces of them laying all over the hallway, like they were not found that way. So it's like
Uh, Indeed, it was quite gruesome and quite shocking the first time I saw it. And that's kind of why I know after, since they weren't in the novel, it makes sense that they weren't here, but after I saw the movie, it kind of feels like something is missing without them.
well, and in this particular miniseries, this miniseries starts with him getting a tour of the boiler room, which we don't even see in the film. We don't see him being told this is what you do with the boiler, and this is how you dump it, and shit like that,
Yeah.
And he's not told about the the stuff about Grady, and the stuff about the woman in 217 or whatnot. He's not told about that stuff like right offhandedly from a worker. He's actually sat down and told outright in the movie that they had an instance where they had hired a man, and he had basically chopped up his family.
Yeah.
What do you think about these differences in people telling him different things and whatnot, and the fact that instead of being told all this shit in an office, he's being told this stuff in the miniseries, um, while they're touring the grounds outside, and it's not in an office that he's being told. In fact,
True.
they're standing outside, him and Mr. Omen, and he basically tells him he was against them hiring him.
Well, now the location where he hears about the history of the hotel, I didn't think that was that much important a difference. But yeah, I guess if this is how it was in the book, then Stephen King probably wanted it to be the same in the mini series, especially after after everything that Kubrick did in the movie. But yeah, aside from that, uh, I didn't pay it much thought except for what you said about Mr. Allman saying that he was against Jack being hired because of his history of drinking. I think that was a pretty interesting scene because you can see both men being honest about their views on the matter, and while Alwyn can maybe come off as an asshole, at the same time, I must give him credit for just being honest. Like, I myself would always rather have the other person be an asshole straightforwardly than lie to me, like
Well,
play
yeah,
knife in front of me and then stab me in
he
the back.
basically told he basically told Torrance that he was an asshole, or could be an asshole, according to some people, and he's like, sometimes you kind of have to be an asshole to some people. But I was not I was not a fan of hiring you because you're a drinker, you're an alcoholic, and he's like, well, yeah, I have been an alcoholic, but I've been 5 months sober, and you know, I know that I've made mistakes, but this is like turning a new leaf. I have this book or play that I have re- noticed that it's not a novel; it's a play.
Yeah, was Jack writing a novel in the movie? I don't remember.
Yeah, he was writing a book. He was
Oh,
writing a book. It wasn't as what as pronounced as that he was writing a book, but even so, supposedly he was supposed to have found this like scrapbook of the history of the house and shit like that, and all you saw was in the movie that this scrapbook was just laying on the table right there, but it wasn't mentioned or even used in any fabrication of the story. Whereas here, you see him going down into the basement and actually seeing some of the shit that had actually happened in
uh,
the house.
yeah, well, the show definitely provides more insights into the ghosts and their stories. In the movie, of course, it was like the main plot was Jack going crazy, and it was known that the hotel was what was doing it to him. And the same hotel was what was producing all these side scares, but it in the movie it kind of didn't feel connected. Like when you see the Grady Twins or the Red Rum thing or things like that, it doesn't feel that much connected to the main story of Jack going insane and becoming more and more aggressive towards his family. And here in the series, it all feels a lot more interconnected.
Well, according to King, he felt like Jack Nicholson's as an actor acted like he was already insane before he even got into the hotel to begin with.
Well,
Whereas King
yes.
wanted, whereas King wanted to show that there was a progression of because you saw that there was some normality to John Torrance here in the very beginning.
Yeah, well, in the movie there is some progression too, but yeah, you can see that Jack was somewhat mentally unstable to begin with, which wasn't so expressed here, but yeah, I guess that was the idea.
Oh yeah. So and what do you think about Danny Torrance in here? The kid who played him in this version compared to the previous movie endeavor.
It, I would say, well, in my opinion, they both did a good job, and but I would say this kid really played his role very well, especially some scenes like when he had his attacks and things like that. That was very well performed. And as a character, I would say he is much better explained in this version than in the movie. Like, as I mentioned before, probably in the movie, we don't really get to know much about Tony. He is much better explained in this version. While there, everyone is attributing Tony to just Danny's imagination, while we get to see that there is more to him because Tony shows Danny things that Danny isn't supposed to know otherwise. But we never get to find out who he really is and how he found his way to Danny, which is
We actually do in the very end of the film. It's Danny when he is an older person, his future self.
well, that's in the series, but was it in the movie as well?
No, it wasn't as explained in the movie, but it was definitely explained in the
In
book.
the series, okay, I didn't read the book, but yeah, in the series, like I said, in the series, it's much better explained than in the movie.
Well, as some people have said, this is this miniseries is definitely a much closer adaptation to the book than it is to the Stanley Kubrick movie. In fact, I would almost consider this a remake of the the novel and a remake of the movie because this is done the way Stephen King wanted it to be done.
Ooh,
In
yeah,
fact, it was made because of Stephen King's hatred of the Stanley Kubrick adaptation.
well, actually, I must say I really understand King. I mean, as you know, I'm a writer myself, and although I haven't managed to publish anything yet, my stories mean a lot to me, and I would love to see them on screen. And if someone butchered them up like that, if they removed some part that means something to me, I would really be pissed off. So yeah.
There is a way, while still being true to a novel, while still making it your own creativity without doing as much butchery as Stanley Kubrick did. So Mick Garris made that attempt to be as faithful to the novel as he could, while still somewhat being creative in his own way as well, because there are some things that I think that he twisted for his own thing, and I think King approved of them. But what do you think about Wendy Torrance, the Rebecca de Mornay here in this miniseries adaptation?
Well, she looked really good, definitely better than the one in the movie. Although, as far as the character goes, like I said before, in spite of the two women looking radically different from each other, I can kind of imagine them both portraying the same character. But yeah, she was pretty good and pretty good looking too.
I thought so. She is definitely a stronger character in here. She, in fact, if I remember correctly, Stephen King actually wanted her for the role, and anyways, and it's what he pictured what he pictured in his novel to be. Actually, I think, and um. He is the one who brought her in on board, and it is because of her that Steven Weber got the role. But Stephen King was very feisty on exactly what he wanted to happen. Evidently. Evidently, Tim Daly and Gary Sinise were considered as some of the many actors that had applied for the role. In fact, King was very impatient, and he said he would wait another 18 years for the role of Jack Torrance. If it wasn't booked. So Steven Weber was definitely very lucky to get the role. What did you think about Steven Weber as a character in the father role?
Well, I would say he was very good. Like I said at the very beginning, I kind of missed Jack Nicholson, but that feeling kind of disappeared later on when this actor's talents truly shine, pun intended. Yeah, he definitely did an amazing job playing this role, especially all these father-son scenes, which we didn't get to see so many of in the movie, which was really well done here.
Well, yeah, you get the sense that there is really a relationship between father and son. A lot more loving than we got from Jack Nicholson's portrayal of the character, because much of the film, it feels like it centers on the abuse that evidently Danny's father had slipped one day and broke his arm. Coming home, and I guess he messed up his papers or whatnot of his novel or book that he was writing, and he just got mad. And in here, he had a in this particular miniseries, he'd had a teaching position, and he not only hurt his son, he hurt a student as well.
Huh. Well, in my opinion, honestly, that student tried to destroy his car, so what he did was kind of a natural reaction, I guess. For what he did to the student, you can't really blame him that much. Uh, uh,
No, but he definitely used a little bit more force than probably was needed. I mean,
mm,
he bloodied him up a little bit,
well,
and in
okay, yeah,
front of
that's
other
true.
students. So
Yeah.
in front of witnesses, and even if you do something like that, you make sure that you do so when there are no witnesses.
Well, actually, funnily enough, when I was in high school, although that was a much different situation, but I actually witnessed one of our teachers beat up a student, although that wasn't a student of our school. It was some other student who came to the playground and he started to bully one of our students and. Teacher kind of came to the rescue and beat that guy up. So it's not quite the same situation, but yeah, it reminded me of that.
I can understand intervening. What I don't understand is causing physical harm to another a child because of it, because you are in the position of authority, and
Well,
you're
in
supposed
this
to be setting an
case,
example for other people.
that guy who was bullying my schoolmate, he wasn't quite a child. I think he was a bit older than us, and he was also being physically violent. So the teacher came to defend one of our students. So maybe he did go a bit over the top, but I guess you couldn't blame him much.
No, which is probably a similar situation to this, but still, the incident happened, and it happened while he was under the influence. So,
Uh,
at
yeah.
least here with Mr. Torrance here,
Yeah,
he'd fallen off the bandwagon, as it were.
yeah, he
But
did.
what did you think about what did you think about the character who played Dick Halloran in this miniseries? Um, was he okay? Because to me, to me, I liked the Dick Halloran or the Halloran character in the movie. To be honest,
Whew.
better.
Well, I don't know. I kind of like them both actually, and I especially like the fact that in this version of the story he survived at the end. That was pretty surprising after watching the movie. Uh,
Well, I think that happened in the book where he actually survived. That was another thing that Stanley Kubrick fucked up.
Yeah, I must say, since we mentioned last time, there was that scene in the movie where so the Torrances had a yellow car instead of a red one, and the red one was seen crashed while they were driving, which was, as we saw, probably Kubrick's way of saying "fuck you" to King. Like this is my version, and I will do what I want. While watching this series, I found myself thinking King could have kind of done the same, like included crashed yellow car somewhere on the road.
He could have had Mick Garris do that, but you know what?
Uh,
King's not entirely that way. He just wanted it done his way. He wanted it done in a proper way, in a respectful way, and Mick
yeah.
Garris was, I think, able to accomplish that in this miniseries platform. So let's take a look at the plot here. So basically, Danny's father has been hired to do a job, or he does have to do some explaining because of him being an alcoholic. But ultimately, he does get the job, and he moves his family into the Overlook Hotel, which is his job and what he has been hired to do. Basically, clean the place, make sure the boiler gets dumped every day, and things of that nature. And
Yeah.
it's a fairly simple job. The only thing is, they're going to be shut up for the winter, and they're going to have a lot of time to each other. Now, Dick Halloran is a character that evidently has some special, unique talents that he was born with, and I guess he calls it the Shining, or what did he refer to it at first?
The Shining. Wait, what else? Did he use another term for it?
Yeah, he used another term for it,
Mm,
but I can't really think. I can't really remember exactly what he called it. But eventually, he
mm.
said the Shining.
Yeah, I can't remember either.
But I don't know. I feel like the other Dick Halloran or the other Halloran was able to explain it a little bit more to him, and he's in the movie he actually spoke to him in the food pantry and was and he was a little bit more relatable to Danny Torrance too. I think because when he explained when he had to explain that he knew how to call him Doc, he was like, I don't know. I guess I heard it from guys. Besides, he kind of looks like a Doc, don't you?
Mm.
Believe that's all, folks.
Yeah, well, I thought it was okay the way they did it in the series as well.
Huh? Yeah, getting some
Mm.
pizza.
Oh, enjoy your meal.
But in any case, but ultimately, I feel like Dick Halloran was an interesting character, regardless, because basically he's there to tell him that there's more than just you out there. Because before this, Danny thought that like he was like the only one with these powers, you know.
Huh, yeah.
And knowing that there's other people that he can call upon and rely on, he's like his one go-to person to call for help when things go south, you know. So
Mm. Interesting point. Yeah. One thing that kind of left me wondering, though, before I started to watch the series, I remember reading somewhere that it would end with, well, spoiler alert. I remember the reading that it ends with the hotel exploding. And then there was this scene with Danny when Dick Halloran told him to think loudly at him, and when Danny did it, this part of Halloran's car exploded. I'm sorry, I don't know the English word for that part of the car, but yeah, we saw that explode, and it was mentioned that. Danny could actually do much more with his power, which
I
made
would
me think,
call I would call it a tail light.
oh yeah, yeah. I'm sorry that. that made me think that maybe Danny's powers would have something to do with the hotel exploding in the end, but no, it exploded for other reasons, which kind of left me wondering what was the meaning of that, Danny having that power in the story. Like, when he thinks loudly, something explodes. I mean, it would kind of make you think that it would play some part of that it would be more relevant to the plot later on, but then nothing big really happened regarding that, from what I remember.
Well, basically, Lee, the power that you saw him have was at least in here, was telepathy, and possibly being there to help guide his father to hold back the ghosts enough to.
Uh, yeah, I understand telepathy, but this thing about things exploding when he is thinking loudly, what was the point of that?
Well, I believe that a lot of it was when he would get excited, and there were things that um, John Torrance had said that he remembers things happening like for no reason. Um,
Oh,
sometimes,
yeah. Yeah.
and they would things would explode and shit. And you noticed that Halloran would have a nosebleed every time he shouted out to him.
Oh,
And
yeah.
finally, he was like, "Hey, I heard you. Now I'm on my way. Uh, now quiet down so that you don't explode my brains or something like that."
Yeah.
But I found it a little funny that he didn't respond like until he was like on like really on his way up there. Like, why didn't he just voice message him, ahead of time and say, "Hey, it's okay, Doc. I'm gonna be on my way." Why couldn't he
Good
message him
point.
back?
Yeah, I don't know. And what was it like in the novel? Did he say something back there?
I think he did.
Whew.
I believe that he did. But in any case, so um, John Torrance has brought along the play that he has been working on, but somewhere during the whole process, he ends up finding this scrapbook of newspaper clippings and pictures that are in this album book, and he finds the stories of the hotel a lot more entertaining to write about, and he begins to write I guess, novel about the hotel. And I guess Danny realizes much of this. He is very self-aware of the things that his father is either about to do or beginning to do, and much of the things he's told not to enter into room 217.
Yeah, I
Except he doesn't follow the rules, does he?
no. I actually said both, probably both in the series and in the movie. Like that's the worst thing to say to a child. There is this one room, but don't go in there. It kind of reminded me of the Lion King when Scar tells Simba not to go to the elephant graveyard. Although that was, of course, said with the opposite intention, but it caused the
An
same
elephant
effect.
graveyard. An elephant graveyard is no place for my favorite nephew.
Yeah.
An elephant graveyard? Oh dear, I've said too much. Well, I suppose you would have figured it all out anyways, being that you're all clever and all.
Yeah.
But in any case, yeah, I can see your point there. The Lion King is another movie that I know like by the back of my heart.
Oh,
I almost know like every single line, and I could probably say it back like frontwards and backwards.
well, I think I would have been able to do that at one point when I was a child, but not now. I have seen it many times, but not quite to be able to quote it word by word. I could do
But
that with some
in any
other
case,
movies, though.
but there were a couple of lions in here.
Oh, yeah.
In the bushes, there were lions.
Indeed. I don't even remember how many different animals there were.
But in any case, can you hear me?
Yes, there was some glitch, but
I think
I
we
can
have a little
hear
bit
you
of a
now.
lag here.
Yeah.
Okay. So ultimately, can you hear me?
Yes, well, it's still lagging, but your video is frozen to me right now, but oh, I can't hear you anymore. Ooh, ooh.
Okay. How about now?
Now I can hear you.
Oops.
Oops.
I don't know why that changed.
I don't know.
Stop the screen. Okay. So ultimately,
Uh-oh.
in the Busch Garden area, where they were they were these bushes that were in that were carved into these creatures that ended up attacking Danny later on. What did you think
Yeah.
about those creatures?
Well, they were definitely very well done, very well made. I guess I
Huh?
would say it's. Oh, was there another lag?
Okay.
Oh, I would say
Did
it's.
you find them okay?
The animals, yeah, definitely, they were very well made. I think it's its own form of art to form hedge to look that way. I mean, it's a rather complex thing to do with it to make a hedge look like an animal.
I can't really hear you.
Yeah, we're having some lags, and uh-oh. Looks like Dave is having a problem with his internet connection. Oh, here you are.
Yep.
I was
Been
afraid.
having problems the last few days. I don't know what it is, but I was asking about the bush creatures. What did you think about them?
Uh, yeah, I was saying they were really well made. I actually found it quite admirable. Like it must not be easy to cut a hedge to look to resemble an animal so realistically. I mean, that's quite different from shaping an animal out of clay or something. This must be a lot more difficult to do. So yeah, it was pretty admirable.
Okay. What did you think about the fire hose in the hallway?
Oh, that one was pretty scary, and it's interesting because that's not one of the scares you see in the movie. So that's one of the things that kind of add more variety to this whole Shining multiverse, to put it that way. Although we didn't get to know the actual meaning of that hose, from what I remember.
What did you think about the large, gigantic ball?
Oh, the ball that Wendy ended up hitting Jack in the head with.
Yeah,
Oh,
because for a while there, you were wondering who threw the ball towards her.
yeah, I was wondering, was it maybe explained in the novel who did that?
I don't
I
think so. I think it was just thrown at her.
Oh, I remember while I was watching it, as I still didn't know that the Grady Twins never appeared in the book. Well, they were mentioned, but not appear as ghosts. I kind of thought that all these scenes when the ball was appearing, I thought it was leading to them being introduced. I thought maybe they would be I thought they would appear and they would maybe be some heroic characters. I thought they were maybe the ones
What's your
throwing the
obsession with twin
ball.
girls, huh?
Well, nothing. I just found them interesting because when I watched The Shining originally, I liked all these movies with scary paranormal kid characters like Samara in The Ring or Alessa in Silent Hill or Damien in The Omen. Although I must say I kind of expected more of them in the movie, they ended up having only one scene being relevant. But yeah, here I kind of thought that since Grady was one of the majorly evil ghosts who was playing on Jack's mind and making him progressively going more and more mad, I thought that since he was the one who killed the girls, maybe the ghosts of the girls would turn against him here and be the ones to help Danny and Wendy get out by giving Wendy that ball to fight Jack back. That's some theory I had until it turned out they weren't in the story at all.
No, they are definitely not in the story at all. In fact, Delbert Grady in this particular adaptation is alone.
Yeah,
It was here alone in the hotel. He had no family whatsoever. He just killed himself alone. So
yeah, that's as much as they said in this version, but they didn't even explain why he killed himself, did they?
no, but he definitely shows up as the bartender. No more Lloyd.
Oh yeah, I noticed that in the movie they separated them in two characters. Like Grady was appearing, I remember, in the bathroom, and some more scenes. I think he was the one who released Jack after Wendy locked him up, and he did that in
Correct.
this version too. But
Yep.
yeah, in the movie, they for some reason they made the bartender a separate character.
Okay. Cool. Alrighty. So ultimately, what did you think of some of the other ghosts that were here? Like, I know that one of them happened to be the hotel owner who had built, I guess, a place at the turn of the century.
Oh, yeah, he
Boris,
was. Yeah, he was one of the ghosts, but for some reason, he in particular didn't grab much of my attention as a character. But some ghosts that I definitely found interesting were the lady in the bathtub. She was quite terrifying, both here and in the movie. She was really well done. Then there was this woman at the masquerade party who was seducing Jack. She was really beautiful. I liked her a lot. uh,
she,
yeah.
she was a pretty redhead, and except the thing is, you started to see veins around her mouth, and when you looked in the mirror, she was
Uh,
quite ghoulish.
uh, yeah, in the mirror she was. uh, but yeah, also I remember the scene when the lady in the bathtub, when she stepped out of the bathtub, and you see this shot of her feet looking all corpsey when they step down into this puddle of water. That reminded me of the Ring quite a bit.
Ah, yeah, I could see
Uh,
that. I could see that happening. That it reminds you of the Ring.
yeah.
And then you also saw the woman. Um, I think if I remember correctly, there was a moment of a flashback in the basement when he was going through the stuff, where you actually get to see the woman.
uh,
Uh,
Committing suicide.
yeah,
Uh,
but you definitely get a very good view of her legs below. Like she has some very good looking legs.
oh, that much is true. Much better than what we saw later on. uh,
uh, and to find out that it's Mick Garris's wife that actually plays the woman in 2017 makes me feel a little guilty, but not by much. I mean, if you have enough, suave to appreciate your wife's legs on screen. uh,
well, good point, but nothing wrong with that.
and Mick Garris ended up showing up at the AA meeting that was in town too. So I guess he was an alcoholic too. But
yeah.
a fellow alcoholic, as it were. But in any case, this was at a moment that I think that John Torrance, Stephen Weber's character, was still trying to be on the up and up.
Yeah.
He's trying to show his family that he's changed by taking this job, and it's a big responsibility for him. But it's also a chance for him to try to piece back together what his family used to have before he took to drinking. So, what do you think about what the house or what the hotel begins to do to Mr. Torrance.
Well, it was, in a way, it was expected since it also happened in the movie. But yeah, like you said, in this version, we see a lot more progression. Like there is much more contrast between the normal Jack and the crazed Jack than in the movie. Although
Well,
in the movie too, to some
and
extent.
on the CB radio, his father supposedly speaks to him.
That was a pretty intense scene.
Oh yeah, and then of course he mallets the CB radio to death, and then tries to blame it on Danny.
Oh yeah, poor daddy.
Of course, Danny had just come from room 237 or 217 here because the rooms have changed.
Oh yeah, I think in the documentary that we watched, they even mentioned something about that when Daddy opens the room, that's when Jack starts going mad. I think they mentioned something like that. And yeah, when I think of it, it kind of does seem that way, doesn't it?
Mm-hmm. He doesn't go entirely all that mad until Danny actually goes into the forbidden room. Well, it
Yeah.
is kind of a forbidden room. He's told not to go in it by several people. In fact, he's not supposed to go into Ullman's office. He's not supposed to go into another room. But he ends up going into that room. And in fact, Tony even warns him not to go into the room. But he's like, I can go into it if I so please. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10.
Nice impersonation.
But he ends up going in. And he almost gets out when he's grabbed back in again by them hands. So and then, of course, that's when Wendy notices that Danny is standing up on near the staircase with all kinds of bruises around his neck, and she quickly blames Mr. Torrance, her husband.
Yeah, that was a pretty interesting
His name
scene. And I'm sorry. What did you say?
According to IMDb, his name is John Torrance in here.
Oh, well, from what I remember in the series, they say Jack, and I actually wondered since that was the name from Stanley Kubrick's movie, how come they kept it in the series and didn't go with John if that's what his name in the book?
You know, for that matter, I don't know because IMDb labels him as John Torrance. But as you know in the series, they call him Jack.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's interesting. And this scene when Wendy blames him for what was done to Danny, that was a pretty interesting scene, and it also led to one of the kind of funny moments in the movie when they realized that the red thing that Danny had on his face was lipstick, and Jack said, "Well, it's not my shade." I remember really laughing at that.
It's not my shade, but
Yeah.
I have been wearing a little bit of lipstick lately, and my perfume is a little bit of Aught 9D6. Do you think I look good in high heels?
Wait, what are you referring to now?
I'm just kidding around.
I thought you were maybe referencing some other character or something.
No, but great party.
Yeah.
And that's what you started to hear from the ghosts, um, as they progressed to starting to be a little bit more real.
Mm,
And
it did.
it just so happens during all this, there is something that Danny's father has forgotten.
Oh yeah. To dump the boiler.
Yep. Spoiler alert, ladies and gentlemen. If you don't know it by now, we are probably going to spoil the shit out of everything that we entirely watch. Now, there is a moment that I like between Jack and Wendy, where she comes down and she's like in this sexy night negligee.
Oh
Look,
yeah.
the only thing that she ever wears that you could tell that she's trying to get or Jack's attention, um, here, because you can see a little bit of a neckline, and she is basically telling them that she wants to go to bed with him, but she doesn't want to sleep. So
Yeah,
how
he
much more
seems.
can you spell it out for him, you know? And he's all worried about the fucking hotel, you know? It's like
Yeah.
your wife is more important than your job, buddy. And if that woman sat down next to me and did what she did, I'd be like carrying her up the stairs and throwing her over my shoulder and shit, and bring and you know hitting it like a caveman, you know.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess that was one of those moments when we were supposed to see that
I wouldn't
Jack
say
is
I wouldn't say no to being offered.
definitely.
But I mean, I know that there are many nights when you know, sexual favors are not offered. So
Yeah.
the fact that she even has to instigate it is a problem. You know.
Yeah, like I said, I guess it's one of those moments when we are supposed to see that something is happening to Jack.
Well, it's not just happening to Jack. It's happening to them. I mean, they're starting to um, come apart at it seems, whatever relationship they may have had. You know, the closeness that they had before this is starting to deteriorate. You know, so
Yeah.
and the fact that he hits her with a mallet later. I mean, look at what he puts her through.
Oh, it did. Wait, did he actually end up hitting her, or was he only trying? I kind of
Yeah,
don't remember.
he hit her in the stomach. He did and then I guess the house threw a chair at her.
Oh,
Um,
yeah, that I remember.
and then he kept the knife from her, and then I think he hit her a couple more times, and then she ran upstairs, and you know, ultimately, uh, that's when Dick Halloran came to the rescue, got his head hit on by a mallet,
I,
knocked his ass out.
yeah, that's what I remember. Uh, 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 I must say, I was really surprised when Halloran woke up after that. because I didn't read the novel, and in the movie he was killed, so it was a pretty nice surprise that he survived here.
Well, in the movie, it was an axe that
Yeah,
that he, which I guess is a hell of a lot more brutal.
definitely. I mean, this mallet wasn't even sharp, actually.
No, but the mallet was definitely strong enough to go through doors.
Yeah.
Come and take your medicine, Danny.
Oh, yeah, I must say several times throughout this series, whenever Jack called Danny damn little pup, I found myself thinking no horror movie has ever made the word pup sound more negative than this one.
Well, it's something that his father used to say to him. So I think while under the influence, he started to act like his father.
Yes.
His father was a drunk before him.
Yeah. Actually, interestingly enough, they occasionally mentioned Wendy's mother as well, but eventually we didn't get to find out much about her and about Wendy's backstory. Was there may be something more said about her in the novel?
Might be. Uh, what is interesting is that they were mentioned. You know that the fact that they might have had um, some other family problems that might have brought them together to begin with,
Uh, yeah.
like her with her mother and him with his father, and you never know with these kinds of things. Sometimes abuse is passed down generation to generation. But
Actually, yeah, that's quite interesting. It reminded me of something
how do you
regarding the. Yes?
how do you feel that the Dog Man was introduced? How do you like how the Dog Man was introduced into this particular miniseries?
Oh, you mean the fact that the dog was named Tony, just like Danny's imaginary friend? Uh,
Mm-hmm.
well, it was interesting. I kind of connected it to the fact that when Jack gets mad, he calls Danny damn little pup, yet Danny actually has a plush puppy. So I wondered, was there any connection between that? Was maybe something about that said in the book that we didn't get to hear in this version?
Or what about the Dog Man mask that ended up on somebody's head,
Oh,
and that
yeah, that appeared a few times. I think or wait, was that what Wendy saw at one point? I'm not sure.
a ghost jumped out at Danny with the Dogman mask on, and then
Y-
later his father um, lifted it from a drink that was there, and then Wendy found it on top of the swinging door to the bar.
Oh, yeah, indeed. Was there some intentional message sent through that? I didn't quite
Remember
know
the
what they
dog?
were.
Remember, remember the dog man that was in the Shining movie that looked like he was giving a blowjob to another man.
Yes, yes, I do.
Well, there was a dog man, someone dressed up with a dog face, um, who was mentioned in the novel and quite posthumously, uh, quite quite a lot more than he was in the miniseries and the movie alone. But I'm glad that he shows up at least, even though minimally.
Yeah.
There were a lot more ghosts involved with the hotel that I think that even the directors were able to afford. So,
Indeed. And the hedge animals coming to life, or the red rum thing, and things like that.
oh yeah. And then, of course, the people coming down the elevator saying, "Great party," and then walking off and disappearing.
Indeed.
And then, of course, when Horace Derwin, he shows up and says, "Hey, what about your son?" "What do you mean? What about my son? My son? Well, we think he's of great importance to us. So stop what you're doing now and go get him." He's like, and Grady's like, it's probably best if you listen. And so that's when he goes up and does his whole, "Danny, come take your medicine."
Indeed.
And that's when Danny basically he tells him the truth. The house doesn't want you. The house is after me. And he's like, "No, you're wrong. It's me they want." He's like, "They promised me. They promised me I'd be the caretaker." And Danny's like, "Well, they lie." So what do you think about this whole going after Danny section here?
Well, it actually, the more we are discussing it, the more I'm finding myself thinking of a theory that came to me regarding the ending of the movie, but I'm not sure if I should mention it now before we have gotten to discuss the ending. But yeah, I guess I see why the hotel would want Daddy, since he has his power and so on. But then again, it makes me wonder if you supposedly.
Oh, you're talking about the fact that his father has powers too.
Yeah,
possibly. And because of the way that he's able to.
I'm sorry, I cannot hear you. I think we have another glitch here. Oh yeah. Looks like Dave has disappeared again. I hope he comes back soon. Looks like the ghosts from The Shining are messing up with his internet connection. Looks like he's coming.
Oh, sorry about that. Can you hear?
Yes, I can hear, but I cannot see you. Oh, now I see you. So
sorry about that, ladies and gentlemen. Having some technical difficulties, but that may be due to the spirits of the hotel. So,
Wait, did you hear me when I said that?
what did you say?
I said that the ghosts from The Shining are messing around with your internet connection. So
Yes.
you,
In fact, they are trying to interfere with the outside communication we are trying to dismay to you.
yeah.
Which, ladies and gentlemen, I don't know how long we'll be able to survive this conversation, but it may get a little blunt. Now, Boris, come take your medicine.
Ah! No thanks.
But in any case, what do we think about the production?
Uh-oh. Looks like the
Values of this
ghost.
mini series? Do you think that they got the effects in here pretty spot on?
Oh, yeah, the effects were pretty good. I think maybe there was one moment with the hedge animals where you could kind of see that they are that it's a CG effect, but that's pretty forgivable in my opinion. I mean, that was 1997 when. That technology probably wasn't as well developed as it is nowadays, and something like that probably wasn't easy to portray fully realistically. So that's forgivable. And aside from that, it was
Well,
really quite
and
good.
I believe the fire hose. I believe the fire hose with the teeth was CGI too.
Oh yeah, that was pretty good as well.
And also, there was a moment where the Horace Derwin character, he ended up showing up in the hallway, and he was like, "Great party," and then he just like dissolved into some kind of like bugs or some shit like that.
Yeah.
What did you think about that moment? And actually, that whole
Well,
entire moment where he was just destroying everything with a mallet.
yeah, that was a lot of spudals. As you know that inner joke of mine by now, don't you?
Yeah, I know of it, but does the audience know about it?
Uh, well, actually, I think we discussed it in one of our previous episodes, but yeah, if someone didn't watch that one, then maybe they aren't familiar with the joke. But yeah, basically, whenever something gets smashed, either in real life or on screen, I say "spudao," which is a joke I picked up from a YouTuber I was watching back in 2010, 2011, who was playing this video game called Plants vs. Zombies, where there was a bomb that could explode and destroy some zombies, and when that bomb would explode, the word "Spudao" would appear on screen, and this guy, whenever he was playing the game, he would comment on it and tell some jokes and so on. And whenever the bomb would explode and that word would appear on screen, he would yell "Spunow!" And that was yeah, to me at least that was pretty funny, and probably also to other people watching him play that game. And well, in real life, we don't know. Well, thankfully, we don't often have situations of something exploding, but when something
No.
uh, yeah, when something falls down, like a glass falls down and breaks, and I say, Spunow!
I think that the special effects still somewhat hold up. I mean, the creatures that got closer that resembled bushes. I mean, most of those shots were you could see from above, like as if there was some kind of a camera above walking towards him, and yet when his parents came out and saw that he was still building shit, those bushes were nowhere near. But it was funky that they were not covered in snow.
Yeah, yeah, that was an interesting moment actually. Both Jack and Danny had some experiences like that with the animals. But I was going to say at one point, but then we had a lag. I wanted to say it's supposedly, if those shining powers are supposedly necessary for a person to witness all these strange things going on at the hotel, then how come Wendy ended up seeing things and she supposedly didn't have powers?
That's an interesting conundrum because um, you would think that because Danny came from both of them that they all had possibly the ability to see things just on a very small and minuscule level. Um,
Huh.
I think in the novel it basically suggests that Mr. Torrance actually has a lot of the same powers that Danny has, which is why he's able to appear to him later at his high school graduation
Oh,
as kind of
yeah.
a familiar kind of a person. He's able to still speak to him because
Uh, Yeah, and that's actually one thing I wanted to mention. One theory I ended up thinking of regarding Danny and Jack. From what we see, when Danny is a little boy,
I
this
believe
guy,
that the red rum was
what was it?
I was saying that maybe Danny was actually the one relaying the message of red rum to his mother, quite possibly to warn her
Oh,
of murder. You know,
uh, yeah, and
you know
actually
what I mean?
that's a I guess, although that's something I actually wonder about because in the movie the whole Red Rum scene was announcing Dick Halloran getting killed, but in this version. Red Rum appeared, but no one got killed. Well, except for Jack at the very end. But whose murder was it supposedly announcing in this version? Or what murder was it referring to?
Although I will say that in the very end, this miniseries ended in fire, like the way that Stephen King wanted it to happen.
Yeah.
Although the Overlook, obviously, we did not expect that it was going to be rebuilt or starting to be rebuilt.
Uh, that wasn't in the book.
Not sure. I thought that the whole thing was destroyed in the novel, but then that's where we pick off with the next film, Doctor Sleep, and some of the powers are explained a little bit more in that film. So,
Huh, that will be interesting.
oh yeah, most definitely. So, let's talk about the music. What did you think about the music?
Oh, uh, well, it was okay, although I must say I was much more focused on the story than on the music. Although it did have some good music with the jukebox scene, from what I remember.
Well, it kind of sounded like this, except with like high voices singing it. I
Yeah,
don't know if you heard that.
I probably did, but right now I can't quite remember.
Let's see. Trying to see who actually did the music for this, but it's taken a
Okay.
moment for it to go to the thing. Come on. Aha. Slow internet. Sorry, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah, I think I think my messages are arriving to you with a delay. I think.
Yeah. Let's see. So the series music was by Nicholas Pike, and
Oh,
Nicholas Pike. He's done Michael. He did Michael Jackson's Ghost. He was the conductor behind some of the music in Will Smith's Wild Wild West music video. Let's see, Sleepwalkers, which was another Stephen King. He was the composer behind Freddy's Nightmares. He was the composer behind Critters 2. And he was the synth programmer and synth bass player behind Graveyard Shift, which was another Stephen King. Um, but he also did Chud 2, Bud the Chud. Let's see. Oh, he did one episode of The Outer Limits. Let's see. What else did he do? Oh, he did another Stephen King thing called Riding the Bullet. He was a guitar and synth programmer behind some of the woodwinds of the music. Let's see. Desperation. He was a synth programmer with the piano. I guess he was a composer and some of the films. He was a vocalist in the synth programming of the It's Alive remake, Parasomnia. Let's see, Devil May Call. Let's see. And that's and for the Love of Spock documentary, he was a synth programmer behind the piano and woodwinds instruments of the music and the documentary for that. That was after Spock's death. They did a cool documentary. So, other than that,
well,
that's who did the music. Nicholas Pike. Oh, if you had a favorite moment from this miniseries, what would you take from it?
let me think. There were really many good moments in this series.
If you had a favorite moment, what would you take from it?
Let me think.
If you had a favorite moment, what would you take from it?
I think. I think
you know what I mean.
Yes, I see what you mean, but we seem to be having some lags again. I think my messages are.
Yeah.
Yeah. What should we do about that?
Just keep. Let's just keep going and try to finish.
Okay. Well, I think my favorite scene.
Favorite moment.
Yeah. I think my favorite moment would be when Jack in his madness confronts Danny, and then he starts snapping out of it, and you see his inner struggles, like you see how much it hurts him what he's doing, yet there are ghosts messing around with him and not letting him stop, but at the same time he is doing his best to help Danny run away. That was I think one of the most impacting scenes, where at the same time you see the actor play this mad psycho trying to kill a kid, and the real Jack who is feeling horrible and wanting to save his son, and you see it kind of both at the same time. That was really impressive.
You know what I think about Jack Torrance as a character? I think it's kind of like a Jekyll and Hyde kind of a character, where you see like the good that is within him, and also the bad that's within him. It's like when he's bad, he's bad. When he's good, he's good. You know?
Yeah, that's a good comparison.
It really is. I mean, except it's the drink that he puts in his system that brings out the. Well, actually, if you think about it, Doctor Jekyll would drink something to turn him into Mr. Hyde too. So it's like you know, kind of like Stephen King's Jekyll and Mr. Hyde kind of a thing inside of a haunted house ordeal.
Good point.
But that's what I feel about Jack Torrance as a character, and obviously he has a hard time coming back from that natural crazy that the drink is able to put him to, and it like puts him on a level with speaking with these spirits and being able to be brainwashed into doing their bidding.
Yeah, it makes sense. I mean, on one hand, interesting to see how he knows that he did something horrible in the past, and he does his best to make up for it. Then here we see the ghosts of the hotel messing with his brain and so on, but at the same time, it kind of leaves us wondering: would the ghosts really be able to make him violent if he didn't actually have some violence in himself deep down?
Very true. I think that my favorite moments would have to be whenever it flashed back to the past and showed some of the things that went on. Like we never fully got to see how the woman got into room 237 in the movie. We actually got to see, kind of what transpired to get her to that point. It was never fully explained why there were ghosts within the in the house to begin with, and we got some of that, with the flashbacks of the shootings and the stuff that you see in the basement that Mr. Torrance sees. So I thought that was interesting. And I did like the contrast between between having those lawn bushes attack him. I mean, I thought those were entertaining, at least those instances, and I thought that it was interesting that we got to see a little bit more instances between father and son.
Yeah, yeah.
You didn't get to see as many of those loving moments that you saw in here, or the struggling moments. The
Indeed.
struggle. You just saw straight crazy in the movie, whereas you saw that he had the potential to come back from that crazy in
Mm.
here.
Indeed, and in my opinion, that's what makes Jack's death really sad in this version. I mean, in the movie, it's also somewhat sad, but by the end of it, he was completely out of his mind. So,
He was out of
uh,
his mind from the get go. So it was like as soon as he got into the place, it's like he automatically was crazy all the way through. So
well, to an extent, yeah, but he did have his moments of expressing regret for what he did in the past. So it was still pretty clear that the hotel was bringing out the worst in him, which somewhat made his ending sad in the movie too, but not as much because it was also a relief because his death meant safety for Danny and Wendy, but in this version it was a lot sadder, and in this version I kind of wished it hadn't ended that way.
here too maybe, but I think that it had to happen that way anyways. So um, hopefully. Ladies and gentlemen, you have had an interesting time of listening to us rabble on about this particular miniseries. I was entertained, even though we had some lags, and
Yeah.
unfortunately, the internet isn't always going to agree with us all the time. But hopefully, you're able to follow the conversation and use this as a guideline to go by, and hopefully, you enjoyed yourself. posthumously. So, in any case, thank you for listening. I think that's all the time we have for today, folks. Stay tuned next week as we go on about Doctor Sleep. Hopefully next Monday. So definitely keep an eye out for that one. Hopefully we have better internet timing on there. And thanks for watching.
Yeah, thank you.